What's going on, everybody? What is going on? It is Friday, April 12th, 2024. We are back with another weekly live stream here on the Torian Rain Reloaded channel. It's still New Black Media Appreciation Month. That's why y'all have been getting flooded pretty much almost every day. I think y'all got a live stream pretty much every day this week. That's crazy. But nonetheless, I'm doing this because I appreciate y'all and also because it's a lot of content. So I figure, let me go ahead and double up each day. But with that being said, make sure y'all go ahead and if you have not done so already, to hit that like button, hit that share button, hit that subscribe button. As a matter of fact, speaking of subscribe, we just hit 67,000 subscribers today. So shout out to everybody who has now, subscribed to my channel. I can't believe we are 3K away from 70,000 subscribers on this channel. I cannot believe it, considering all the stuff that's been going on and been going through, with the channels over the years. But here we stood strong. We bounced back and we're continuing to push forward. No matter how fast or how slow we move, we still want to get these stories out here the proper way that they should be. Shout out to all of the members on here. Shout out to the people on Patreon. Speaking of Patreon, y'all will be getting a new video tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that. I'm almost at 100. I want to say I need to go and check my Patreon because I think I'm almost at 100 Patreons too. So I need to check that. But shout out to y'all, everyone who follows me on Instagram, Twitter, Discord, everyone who sends me stories. I'm greatly appreciative of that as well. As y'all can see, we have a lot of stories to talk about today. Those are just the stories right there that that are fresh. And then of course, there's also some update stories that have to come down the pipeline as well. I think it's like 4 of those, but we will get into that shortly. So let me go ahead and acknowledge those who are here so far in the chat, and then we will get started. We have Classic Fan Forever, Ice Spider, Hack Sign KT, Till Dog 12, Denise Scales, Wallow J, Hacks, Lady Messenger, Letitia Cosima Fury, SD Johnson 857, Patricia A. Jones, Mr. Williams, Lewis Knowles, Iron Will, Lakeisha Mitchell, Harley Lynn, Iron Will, Jerry Bedford, Rocco Muro, Jonathan Richardson, and Maxic. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. So shout out to everybody that's here so far in the chat, and anyone else that will be coming in. Welcome to you as well. We just have the Church of Black Power and Daughter of the Most High just entered the chat as well. Please go ahead and hit that like button. I appreciate that as well. And shout out to everybody that came through last night for the rather late night stream that I did with Town Biz when we were discussing Angel Reese. Shout out to everyone that came through to that, and also to those who are part of Replay Gang. Appreciate you as well. Shout out to you, 007 Spidey. So let's go ahead and get started with this. And let's see if we can get through these stories within at least an hour, or at least by 7 Eastern time. So let's go ahead and start with the first obvious story. And that, of course, is the passing of OJ Simpson. Now, that was a shocker yesterday. I was literally getting ready to premiere the Angel Reese video, which, by the way, y'all ran the numbers up on that video. I'm not talking about the stream we did yesterday. I'm talking about the video, the one that the premiere video in the morning. I looked at those numbers today, and it was at over 13,000. It's probably over 14 by now. Y'all ran them numbers up for that video. So shout out to y'all for doing that. But yeah, I was getting ready to premiere the video for Angel Reese, and then that's when this news came out. It literally came about 5 minutes before it went, and then I was like, whoa, let me go ahead and look onto Google, and sure enough, it was everywhere. It said that OJ Simpson had passed away at the age of 76 from prostate cancer. So that's very unfortunate. Any form of cancer is very unfortunate. I actually had an uncle who had pancreatic cancer, and they gave him like 6 months to live. He was gone within a month. It's just crazy how things just happen, whether or not you have treatment or anything like that. It is what it is. But as you know, OJ Simpson, he was a star running back, in the NFL, broke many records. He had a very, I guess you could say, short-lived movie career. I don't know about y'all, but I'm a fan of those Naked Gun movies. And the crazy part about it is I was looking at the second Naked Gun movie the day before he died. I kid you not. I was watching some people on YouTube react to that movie, and boom, what happened the next day? It announced that he passed. So, you know, it's crazy how things just work out. But of course, you know, his life became a spiral when the trial happened, or when the situation with him and Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman occurred. And shout out to Janesta for the 5. Tutorial reading Reloaded, and family, I appreciate you for the contribution. And when I typed in and the thing is, the reason why I pulled up images is because every article that I've seen so far involving OJ Simpson have all been a hit piece. Almost every last one of them. They could not wait to do that. And I knew it was going to happen. I said the day that OJ Simpson passes away, they are going to come out with all kinds of hit pieces and whatnot about him. And I said, I'm not even going to click on one of the articles. So let me just go ahead and type his name into the Google search in the images. And of course, almost every picture that comes up is involving him inside of the courtroom. Whether it's in the courtroom back in the day, or the more recent one much years later. So yeah, everyone's getting their turn to go and throw their hit pieces on OJ Simpson, like I knew they would, because they did the same thing with Kobe Bryant. They did the same thing with Michael Jackson. And I know, listen, I can only imagine what they're going to do when it comes to Bill Cosby. Man, oh my God. I'm waiting to see what they're going to say. But either way, one post that I made up on X, I only made one post yesterday as in reference to his passing. And you know what it said? It said, and I quote, "And he's still not guilty." That's all that needed to be said. They listen. This man has gone to his grave. He's not even in the ground yet, but he will be going to his grave as a man who was found not guilty in one of the biggest trials in the 20th century. And that shit burns them up from the inside. Oh, Cosma. Mark Lamont Hill was very out of line. I saw this Kid Gravity had showed his stream, and then he went online onto X and was peddling. Don't get me started on that dude. That dude, man, listen. Mark better hope that he doesn't get sued, but you know what? If he does, he will have brought it on himself. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about this. I mean, you know, RIP to OJ Simpson. I'm sure he probably, you know, now he probably feels better now. He probably feels more at peace now. I mean, he can't feel anything, but he's at peace now because he doesn't have to deal with, you know, I'm sure over the years he's had people like constantly in his face or online or wherever the case may be about this case. And I think it probably pissed a lot of people off that when he finally got exposed to social media and he was posting videos up, they probably was like, you know, got tired of seeing him because he would just post up like random videos or whatnot on social media, and people who didn't like him didn't want to see him. But it is what it is. But now he is resting and they're still going to talk. That comes with the territory, unfortunately. So there's that story right there. Next, we're going to go starting into the updates, and we go from one black man that had his life in shambles to another black man that could possibly recover, even though his life is currently slightly in shambles right now. And that's Jonathan Majors. Now, I talked about Jonathan Majors last week. And the thing that I talked about last week was the judge tossing out he was trying to get his conviction overturned, but they tossed it and they said, well, he's not going to be sentenced. I told people this man is not going to do any jail time, but they're going to make him do something. And do something they will. So Jonathan Majors, in case y'all are unaware, now has to do 1 year. He has 1 year probation. And under that probation, he has to go to some kind of counseling or some kind of therapy. And it's something else that he has to do. And he basically has to do it for a whole year. If he misses one part of that, then they will put him in jail for a year. But I think him and his team are trying to appeal even this to see if they can get this either reduced or toss this out altogether. Now, you got to keep this in mind. We all saw the video where this man was running down the street, running away from this white chick, and he still has to be persecuted. Oh, snap. Hold on now. Shout out to Dana for the 100. Wow. That wasn't on my April 2024 bingo card, but I definitely appreciate it. Shout out to you. Shout out to Dana. I want y'all to put some 100s in the chat for Dana for the 100. I appreciate it. I really do. But yeah, Jonathan Majors, he has to do this 1 year probation. So at least I said it shouldn't even been that, but at least he didn't get jail time. If he would have got jail time, that would have been absolutely absurd. But this is, in my opinion, this is them again trying to quote unquote teach him a lesson, quote unquote, or trying to stick it to him. So there's that. And yes, Cosmo, Alvin Bragg, man, when Alvin Bragg gets his moment, that's going to be the day. Alvin Bragg is definitely anti-black. You can't tell me he is not. He's going to make sure he gets all his buttered biscuits with extra sprinkles of butter dust. But like I said, they had to make an example out of Jonathan Majors, and this is how they went about doing it. And I keep telling people, if they can get someone as high profile as Jonathan Majors, don't think for a second that you and your blue collar self cannot be touched. As we have seen throughout history, that can definitely happen. So there's that story. That's that update right there. So the next one I'm going to bring to you, we're going to the South, and that is involving this Mississippi Goon Squad. So I'm sure many of you are aware of the so-called Goon Squad. These were the 6 PC pieces of shit who tortured these 2 black men. One of them got sodomized. That I don't even like that word, especially when you know what it means, but I just don't like how it's said. But anyway, they said they have been sentenced to decades in prison based on a state court hearing. And I believe they got like 40-something years. In my opinion, they would get way more. So it says 6 former Mississippi law enforcement pigs were sentenced to decades in prison Wednesday in state court after pleading guilty to a long list of state and federal charges for torturing and abusing 2 black men. Rankin County Circuit Judge Steve Ratcliffe gave the men state sentences that were shorter than the amount of time in federal prison that they had already received. Brett McAlpin, 53-year-old former high-ranking deputy, received a state sentence of 20 years, so that means he'll be 73 when he gets out. Joshua Hartfield, a 32-year-old former police officer, received 15, so he'll be, almost 50? Christian Delmon was sentenced to 25 years. Hunter Elward was sentenced to 45 years. That's the one that got 45 years. And Jeffrey Middleton and Daniel Opdyke were sentenced to 20 years each. That's how I said these were some lowball sentencings, with the exception of the one that got 45 years. He's the one that got the most of it. The state sentences that came down on Wednesday were ordered to run concurrently or at the same time with their individual federal sentences, which each of the 6 men received at another hearing in March. McAlpin, Hartfield, Dedman, Elward received 27 years, 10 years, 40 years, and 20 years imprisonment, respectively, for their federal convictions. In that federal hearing, U.S. District Judge Tom Lee sentenced Dedman for his role in the group attack of Michael Corey Jenkins and Eddie Terrell Parker in January 2023, as well as another incident in the December prior. Middleton and Opdyke both received 17 and a half years imprisonment in federal court. In March, U.S. District Judge Tom Lee called their actions egregious and despicable as he gave sentences near the top of the federal guidelines to 5 of the 6 men. The attack in 2023 involved beatings, repeated use of stun guns, and assault with the sex toy before one of the victims was shot in the mouth in a mock execution. Now, you listen to all of that, and you tell me why they shouldn't have got way more time than what they got. The case drew outrage from top law enforcement officials in the country, including Attorney General Merrick Garland, who said the officers committed a heinous attack on citizens they had sworn an oath to protect. In the episode's grisly details, local residents saw echoes of Mississippi's history of racist atrocities by people in authority. The first defendant to be sentenced Wednesday was Brett McAlpin, the fourth highest ranking officer in the Rankin County Sheriff's Office, weeks after he was sentenced by a federal judge to about 27 years of federal imprisonment. Brett was sentenced in state court Wednesday to 15 years on one charge and 5 years on another. You know what? All I can hope is that they got put, or they're going to be put in a general population. Do not put them in protective custody because they don't deserve it. Prior to the sentence hearing, Melisha Bass, an attorney representing Jenkins and Parker, said the state sentencing hearing would be a quote-unquote test for Ratliff and state prosecutors. The state criminal sentencing is important because historically the state of Mississippi has lagged behind or ignored racial crimes, and police brutality against blacks, and the Department of Justice has had to lead the way. The defendants include the I'm not going to read their names again. Okay, I think I can start reading because now it's going into old stuff. I already got the bulk of what I wanted to talk about, which is what their sentencing was. So there's that update right there. So let's now go into the last update, and then we'll get into the main topics. So, as expected, the parents of Ethan Crumbley have officially been sentenced. I think the mother was already sentenced, but now the dad has been sentenced as well. And shout out to the 91 that's in here. Again, if you haven't done so already, please go ahead and hit that like button. So, as of April 9, 2024, the parents of school shooter Ethan Crumbley were sentenced to 10 to 15 years in prison. The parents of the teenager who killed 4 students in the 2021 school shooting in Oxford, Michigan, were each sentenced 10 to 15 years in prison Tuesday, weeks after being convicted of manslaughter. James and Jennifer Crumbley, who had each faced up to 15 years in prison, have already been in prison for more than 2 years since their arrest in a Detroit warehouse days after the shooting. Though they were tried separately, their sentencing took place together in an Oakland County courtroom. They are the first parents to be held criminally responsible for a mass shooting committed by their child as the nation continues to grapple with the scourge of gunfire on campus and mass shootings. So they said they are the first to ever be tried and convicted for being basically held responsible for what their kid did. So they're basically telling you they're trying to set a precedent that going forward, if you have a child that does something like this, you too will be held accountable. So you better hope that your child does not have gets I guess you can say, what's the word? Gets inspired that day. Really, honestly, this is something that should have been in place, going all the way back to Columbine. It says the historic trials and stunning verdicts of James and Jennifer Crumbley tested the limits of who can be held responsible for a mass shooting. The prosecution of both parents and an uptick in other criminal prosecutions and civil lawsuits tied to mass shootings indicates attorneys are increasingly seeking to hold responsible people and companies who did not pull the trigger. Prosecutors over the past few years have been slowly but steadily expanding the notion of who can be held accountable for a mass shooting. CNN legal analyst Ellie Honig, a former federal and state prosecutor, said last month. While he cautioned each case rests on its own merits, we've seen groundbreaking prosecutions of parents and security personnel, and I'd expect that trend to continue. The question remains whether prosecution of non-shooters will be effective in reducing the number of mass shootings in the United States, but undoubtedly it has expanded prosecutors' toolboxes, according to Ekal Yanka, law professor at the University of Michigan. Now, I'm not going to read every single thing because it's very lengthy. It's almost like a transcript, but y'all pretty much get the idea. They're getting locked up. And they're trying to put something in place where if you have a child that basically goes and does what Ethan Crumbley did, the same thing can happen to you as a parent. But I'm glad they're doing that. They're holding the parents responsible. As D. Johnson said, Mayo Watts tried to defend those parents. I'm sure he wasn't the only one. Cosmo said they blatantly ignored the signs of their monstrous child and thought it would correct itself. Exactly. And that's what they're really going to attribute it to. Like, how did you not know your child was going to do this? Like that's impossible. Because it's almost like it sounded like they were being very neglectful as parents. Like you were not paying attention to the obvious signs. You could look at their son and tell he was about to do some crazy shit. He almost looked like the spawn of Jeffrey Dahmer. I'm telling you, if you put Ethan Crumbley's mugshot up and right next to Jeffrey Dahmer's mugshot, they look related. So that was the last update right there. So now let's go ahead and get into the main topics of the day. So the first topic we're going to talk about is this man by the name of Jamey Noel. And he is a former TV sheriff accused of stealing $5 million, using it on vacations, luxury cars, and child support. In other words, y'all, we have another welfare king out here. We have someone out here who was doing the same thing that Brett Favre was doing. Former reality television sheriff and volunteer firefighter from Indiana is facing a slew of felony charges, accused of stealing at least $5 million in taxpayer money and using it to fund vacations, luxury cars, and even child support. Now, this very ghastly witch-looking woman right here is his wife, Misty Noel. As you can see, it says she's to face 10 charges of theft and tax evasion. So she's not innocent herself. Jamey Noel, age 52, who appeared in the A&E show 60 Days in 2016 and 2017, and his family allegedly stole the public funds as he served as both the Clark County Sheriff and the head of a local EMS service. He also allegedly ordered some of his subordinates to do work around his house as they were on the clock for the sheriff's department, court documents say. The former sheriff is now facing 15 felony charges for abusing his authority and 10 more for theft and tax evasion. His wife, Misty, age 50, and daughter, Casey, age 27, are also facing theft and tax evasion charges for allegedly charging the Utica Township Volunteer Firefighters Association credit cards on expenses including tanning salons, plastic surgeries. We can clearly see, look at her. We can clearly see that she looked like she just got fresh off the table and fresh off the bed. Vape products and Netflix subscriptions. Meanwhile, investigators are now probing whether Noel may have also used public funds to buy a personal aircraft and what he may have done with $7 million in military surplus equipment and tools the sheriff's office bought during his tenure. The investigation hasn't slowed down since its inception, Special Prosecutor Richard Heffel told Inside Edition, noting he's not even sure there's an end in sight. That means there's still even more out there that they haven't even come across yet. The possibility for additional charges on Jamey is real, indefinite. State investigators first started probing Noel's finances last year after his successor, Sheriff Scotty Maples, found a hidden wiretap in the office of an assistant chief that led directly to Noel's office. Maples ordered a full review of the department, during which more disturbing information came to light. He said he soon discovered Noel ordered several Clark County Sheriff's Office employees to work and perform maintenance on his personal property, investment properties, and business properties. These all employees were instructed to conduct this work while being paid to work at the Clark County Sheriff's Office. So this is his wife, and I'm telling you, this woman looks like she's out of a rock band from the 70s. She kind of looks like what's his name? Freddie Mercury. She kind of looks like Freddie Mercury a little bit. So that's the wife right here. And this is the daughter right here. Additionally, Maple said he discovered paperwork that had been falsified and forged to award pension benefits to a deputy who did not deserve them, but happened to be one of Noel's family members. Investigators would later identify the former deputy as Noel's brother-in-law Bradley Kramer, according to Inside Edition. Kramer has not been charged in the investigation. As part of an ensuing investigation, state police said they found Noel using the Utica Township Volunteer Firefighters Association credit cards on trips and luxurious clothes. Between 2018 and 2019, Noel allegedly spent $200,000 on Marriott vacation programs charged to the Firefighters Association American Express. And in 2019, Noel and his wife took out more than $83,000 in loans for Marriott Vacation Club destinations, making monthly payments from the nonprofit accounts. My thing is this: how did y'all think that they were not going to find out about this? You know, y'all literally left a digital paper trail. More than $100,000 from the fund was also spent on his daughter's college tuition and other educational expenses, while another $56,000 was also spent at a cigar shop where Noel is known to be a regular customer. Other expenses include Tom James suits and Ferragamo shoes, which were seized from his house, and more than 130 luxury vehicles, including Corvettes, Cadillacs, and a 1959 Chevy Bel Air, which he is accused of selling, then pocketing the money. Noel even allegedly spent money from the jail's commissary fund. See, we would have to fight. Can you imagine if you were sending commissary to someone that you know that's in prison, and he was spending the money like they weren't getting it? He was spending the inmates' money. In one case, he allegedly bought a Bluebird bus for $12,000 with the commissary fund, entitled it to the volunteer fire department. He then transferred it to the sheriff's office days before his second term ended in 2022 and sold it to the department for $5,900, a loss of $6,100 to the county. Another nearly $1,400 in jail funds were also allegedly used to purchase a 75-inch television for his home. The state has since ordered Noel to repay more than $918,000 to the jail's commissary. In other court documents, Noel is accused of having an affair with a Clark County council member who gave birth to his child. So this is where the child support comes in, because I was wondering where that child support part came from. He then allegedly used funds from the Volunteer Firefighters Association to pay court-ordered child support. State investigators are now continuing to probe whether Noel used fire agency funds to buy a $25,000 1958 Cessna plane in 2022. The plane's registration listed Noel as its owner in 2022, but a year later, it was registered to the fire department. They are also looking into more than 24 shipping containers, a forklift, and even a train on private property. They believe the equipment was all purchased by the sheriff's department under Noel's watch. Noel and his family have pleaded not guilty to the charges against him and are now out on bail. Why? And why would you even plead not guilty? It's like they already got the paper trail of you. They know that you stole practically all his money. His case is expected to go to trial later this year. The Post has reached out to attorneys for each of the family members for comment. That was a lot. Now I can see why in the article it was mentioning why when they said there's definitely more there. And I'm like, there's more than this? To be a fly on the wall during this trial. That's crazy. Like, this man literally had a whole laundry list of stuff that he purchased. A few laundry lists, as a matter of fact, with money that was not his. And they try to tell us we are the welfare kings and queens. I think Brett Favre might have come across met his match. Wow. I'm going to see if I can try to keep my eye on this one because now I'm intrigued. Now I'm curious to know what the outcome of this is going to be. That's crazy. But anyway, let's move on to the next story. So, as many of you may or may not know, I did a Karen examination on Yvette Nicole Brown earlier this week. And, she basically said some stuff outside of her mouth about Black people. But she's also a part of this new, I don't know what the hell you want to call it because I refuse to call it what it is. Good Times. They said this Good Times reboot or whatever it is, which I think comes on today on Netflix. Won't be watching it. And if you have Netflix, if you do come across it, don't watch it, but just click the down button. Click the thumbs down for not interested. But anyway, there was a petition that was launched that said that they to boycott the culturally destructive reboot of quote unquote Good Times as original cast members give mixed reaction. So let's see what they're talking about on here. Dynamite was certainly one way to describe the reaction to the trailer of Netflix's Good Time reboot, but that explosion of commentary certainly wasn't comprised solely of good reactions. Helmed by Carl Jones, known for his work on the controversial and satirical 2000 series The Boondocks, I don't know why you would attach yourself to something like this, especially when you're coming off of something so ingenious such as The Boondocks. The new Good Time boasts with a who's who of executive producers, including Norman Lear, Seth MacFarlane, and Stephen Curry, as well as big names like Yvette Nicole Brown, Wanda Sykes, Jay Farrell, and Marseille Martin in its voice cast. Yet while the new series looks to offer a modernized and refreshed take on the classic sitcom Evans Family, some have argued that take may be a little too fresh. So much so, they're calling for a boycott of the show ahead of its April 12th, which is today, arrival. Longtime Good Times fans may have already been on the fence at the word of the iconic 70s show will be rebooted into an animated series, but nothing could have prepared them for the racy comedy that lines the Netflix trailer revealed. Laden with racial slurs, sexual innuendos, violent references, and more, the teaser proved the streamer's version of the classic family flipped the original script concept on its head, much to the dismay of some viewers who took to change.org to launch a petition against it. And here's the link in the chat for anybody who would like to sign that petition. There it is right there. The less than welcoming sentiment is one shared by Bernadette Stannis, who portrayed Thelma Evans on the original. I did not know it was going to be the way that it is. I thought it was going to be different. She said after sharing, she voiced a small part on the Netflix version. I guess they figured if you put us in there, it wouldn't look so bad or whatever. John Amos, who played one of the original leading characters on the show, James Evans Sr., opted to remain neutral for now. I really can't form an opinion as I've not seen any of the episodes yet. Norman and the entire cast and company set the bar pretty high in the 70s. They'll have a hard time reaching that level of entertainment and education. I wish them the best. I see people aspiring to that, but I don't see anybody reaching that goal, especially in an animated version. He basically gave a more politically correct response to it. But if we had to go based off of that trailer alone, that is some grade A garbage. And when you think about how Good Times ended, it ended on a high note. It ended on a good note. Like they got out of the ghetto. That was the goal. They reached their goal. They all got out of the ghetto. They basically that was the end game. So you think, oh, they're doing this reboot, it's going to pick up with them, like maybe in a middle class society, they're doing better, but they could still be dealing with some issues now, even in a middle class setting, because I'm sure they're dealing with their issues as well. But to literally throw them right back into the same situation, and then, well, we unfortunately saw that trailer. It's so many ways they could have went with that other than what they did. So notice they couldn't really get mad at the people who was very upset about it, because Good Times, like I said, holds a spot in many of our hearts, especially for those who was around during the time when it was on as a new show, and even for those like myself who watched it as a rerun, because that show got canceled 10 years before I was born. So of course I would never experience it as a brand new series. But no, this is definitely not it. And then when you found out who the showrunner was, it made it even worse. And it was some Afro Latina chick. Again, someone who just sounds who's definitely very removed from quote unquote the culture. So like I said, I put the link to the petition right there in the chat. I see some people said they already signed it. Hey, I'm right there with you. Next story. So we have this woman. I never heard of her until like this week or maybe last week. I don't know. Whenever I was compiling this list together, about a woman named Lily Allen. I'm not sure exactly who she is, but apparently she has some words for Beyonce. As y'all know, Beyonce released her country album at the end of March and is doing pretty well, by the way, based on chart standards. Is doing pretty well. I've heard like mixed reviews about it. Some people said they like it, some people said they don't like it, or it is what it is. But this woman said that that Beyonce is calculated and she's getting some help with a youthful appearance. I know what she's trying to say. She's trying to say that Beyonce is getting work done as far as like plastic surgery, as far as her face goes, to like remain or look youthful. That sounds like some hating from her. And when you see this picture of this Lily Allen chick, then you'll see why she said what she said. Mind you, Lily Allen is over in the UK, or at least that's where she's based out of. So let's go ahead and get into it. Who would have known she could be so shady? Lily Allen threw shade at Beyonce when she joked that she's quote unquote getting some help in maintaining her youthful appearance. She does look great, Maquita Oliver, who said while hosting Allen, age 38, on her podcast, Miss Me. She makes turning 40 exciting, adding Oliver, age 39, while the pair discussed Beyonce's brand new country album, Cowboy Carter. So this is Lily Allen right here. Now, this woman is 38. She's 4 years older than me. Now, you look at this picture right here and you look at Beyonce at her age right now. You tell me which one looks better. See, she made those comments because she couldn't properly critique the album. So let me go ahead and just attack her looks and say she looks like she's getting work done to remain youthful. She said, yep, but she's getting some help. The remark did not sit well with Oliver, who quickly jumped to the single ladies singer's defense. She has not had any work done, if that's what you're implying. I didn't say that, the Smile songstress retorted, but she's got a great stylist, great hair people. She works out, got the access to the best personal trainers in the world. She's Beyonce. That sounds a lot different than you saying she had work done, or she's getting help. See, now she had to try to clean herself up because she got the pushback. According to the Grammy nominee, Beyonce's promotion for the new record was quote unquote calculated. It's quite an interesting thing to do when you're trying to tackle a new genre and you pick the biggest song in that genre. I mean, do you, Beyonce? This just sounds like a woman that's just hating. That's just what it sounds like to me. I think it's been quite calculated, Allen said. I feel like when Jay-Z got up at the Grammys, that was part of this campaign. She was wearing the blonde wig, a cowboy hat, and he did that wig. So if it was calculated, apparently it worked. She probably mad that all of her calculations were miscalculated. It was about challenging the institution, and now she is the most played woman on country music. Allen explained further. I'm here because I love country music and always have. Not saying Beyonce does it, but I tell stories in my music, and that's what country music is. Like I told you, I didn't know who this woman was until right now. And many of y'all in the chat seem to know who she is, and y'all can tell me all of that right now, and I still don't know who the hell she is. Now, I don't know how many of y'all were in Nicole's View live stream today that she did with Harvey, but there was this video, not with Lily Allen, but this other random white chick on TikTok that had this very disparaging thing to say about Beyonce as far as the country music goes, that definitely went into the anti-black sector. So if y'all saw that, y'all know exactly what video I'm talking about. I wish I could have found it, but I wish I should have asked Nicole, because she had sent me that clip so I could have played it on here. And this is Beyonce's 27-track album dropped last week. Prior to the full release, the Halo songstress became the first Black woman to hit the number one slot on the Billboard country charts. And I believe this part right here is what Lily Allen is hating on. This part right here. The CMAs is going to be very interesting this year. That's all I'm going to say. That is all I'm going to say. The 32-time Grammy Award winner announced the album in February when she appeared in a Super Bowl commercial for Verizon and casually revealed that she will be releasing a brand new LP. According to the Crazy in Love hitmaker, the album serves as an Act 2 of Renaissance, her album cycle that began with Renaissance Act 1 in 2022. And by the way, I actually found out something very interesting about her album release. I actually found out that she recorded this Country Carter album, or this Cowboy Carter album, before she recorded Renaissance. But she released Renaissance beat first. I actually found that out yesterday. So, interesting little tidbit for those of y'all who were unaware. Many have since speculated whether or not the singer has just secured her place as the winner for the coveted Album of the Year at next year's Grammy Awards. And the thing is, if she wins Grammy of the Year, you already know they're going to say, oh, it's a conspiracy because Jay-Z got up and said at the Grammys this year, this woman has released a whole bunch of great albums. Why doesn't she run Grammy Album of the Year? I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting for it. Also, I see Iron Will and Church of Black Power said they didn't know that. Yeah, I didn't know that either. So that was a very interesting little fun fact that I learned. So there's that. Again, another hating ass caulker bitch. What else? I mean, what else can you say? I mean, no one really knows who Lily Allen is right now, and even after this, no one's gonna really care. But she had to attach herself to a big star in order to put herself out there. So let's move on to the next story. Now, this one is crazy right here. So we have this one coming out of New York. It says a Haitian migrant fatally stabs his 2 roommates inside of a New York apartment before deportation hearing. Now, so wait a minute. If I'm reading this correctly, if I'm reading and not reading too much into this title alone before I even get into the article, are they trying to say that this Haitian migrant stabbed his roommates before he was set to be deported for apparently something else? I just want to assume that that's how I'm reading this. Because if so, this dude is an idiot. And a murderous one at that. A Haitian migrant allegedly murdered his 2 roommates in an apartment complex in the Hudson Valley as he was awaiting a federal deportation hearing. So it looks like I did read into it correctly. Kanol Baptiste, age 30, is accused of stabbing the 2 men in and around an apartment complex he was staying in Middletown, New York, on Monday. Police arrived at the Ruth Court Apartments after receiving a call about a stabbing. Officers discovered one man dead inside a unit, while a second man was discovered lying outside of a sidewalk suffering from serious injuries, to the Times Herald record. Now, before I go any further, speaking of headline, does anyone notice what they did? And I'm actually glad that they did it. And Sam Ham, you got it right on the money. Hold on, let me make sure. Let me go right here. Glad they said Haitian and not black, because they could have easily said black man fatally stabs his two roommates. I think they're listening, y'all. I think they're listening. And by the way, this is the man right here who did it. Look at his mugshot. This man can't even keep his eyes open. He looks out of it right here. Officers discovered one man dead inside a unit, while a second man was discovered lying outside a sidewalk suffering from serious injuries. The second victim was transported to the nearby Garnet Health Medical Center, where he later succumbed to his injuries during surgery. A police K9 team captured Baptiste in a wooded area near the apartment shortly after the stabbings. Baptiste has been charged with second-degree murder and first-degree manslaughter, both felonies, and also handed a misdemeanor criminal possession of a weapon charge. No motive behind the killings was immediately released. The alleged killer and his two victims who were also from Haiti and spoke Creole, were reportedly acquaintances and had been living together in an apartment for less than a year. In follow-up with members of the community, we are learning that this group of individuals moved in there about a year ago. The victims' names weren't being released pending family notification. Local officials are now asking how Baptiste got into the country in the first place. Uh-oh. So they're inquiring that he may be here illegally. They said Baptiste entered the U.S. about 8 months ago, and police are still trying to track back how, where, and when. So that just spells out to me that he's here, or he was here, or is here illegally. Orange County Executive Stephen Nahas said Baptiste was awaiting federal immigration proceedings at the time of the stabbings. Nahas also blamed the Biden administration for the brutal deaths. This is a failure on all levels of the federal government. Nahas told News 12's Hudson Valley it was one of the most brutal murders that some law enforcement is reporting to us that they've seen. Baptiste is being held in Orange County Jail and is scheduled to appear in court on Friday. Last spring, Nahas filed several lawsuits against New York City Mayor Eric Adams after several buses of migrants were transported from the city up to hotels in Orange County. The county exec claimed Adams had sent 82 of them, all single men, no families, to nearby Newburgh hotels in May 2023 to alleviate the stress of the migrants across crisis in the city. As the men were moved up from Manhattan, the hotels, Crossroads Hotel and Ramada by Wyndham, reportedly kicked out U.S. veterans who had been living there. The Hudson Valley area had also received migrants from secret midnight flights to Stewart International Airport in New Windsor after the Biden administration previously sent them to Westchester County Airport. So there you have it. This man who was in here most likely illegally killed his two roommates. And Cosmo, I saw what you wrote. It says it reminds you of Elliot Rodger, because if y'all saw the Elliot Rodger stream that I did last month, that's what he did to his two roommates. The only difference is they were Asian. But y'all will have to go back and look at that to really get the info on that one. That's crazy. But this is what they've allowed to come into this establishment. They said they don't even know when he entered in here. They said they just know it was within the last year. Now, what's crazy is he got in here illegally within the last year and already had roommates in an apartment. So yeah, that's crazy. And the crazy part about it is, it's getting warm, y'all. I don't know if y'all realize it yet, but spring, I think, is officially here. The weather is breaking, and it's only going to get hotter from here. So you already know what's about to happen. Just be on guard, y'all. And like Professor Black Truth always says, always have your power tools, always carry your steel. And I'm gonna leave it right there. So this next story right here is it's a very interesting one. And I said, let me go ahead and pull up the most recent update. So Aoki Lee, who is the daughter of Russell and Kimora Lee Simmons, was fraternizing or dating this very old man by the name of Vittorio Asaf. And apparently this man must have a lot of money. But when I first heard about it, I didn't even think that it was true. But then I kept seeing more stuff post about it. And sure enough, they were dating. And it were is in past tense, because apparently now, and as of Tuesday, they have broken up. Now, the picture that everybody saw was them on a beach, and she had on a bikini, he had on some swim shorts, and they were all huddled up. She was kissing him and everything like that. And when I saw this, the first thing that came to my mind is that this is a full circle moment, because this just reminds me of Russell Simmons, who was at the time was in his 30s when he first met Kimora Lee, when she was not Simmons yet, walking that runway when she was a teenager. And I said, this is literally playing out the same exact way. The only difference between her and her mother is that she is of legal age. When Kimora was messing around with Russell back in the day before they got married, she was still a teenager. I think she was what, like 16? Someone can let me know down in the chat how old she was. And Russell was like in his 30s. And then I believe Russell had did a video and he posted it up and everything like that. And she responded to it. And it had something to do with an allowance or some money. And basically said, well, the reason she's doing is because she, in a way, got cut off, or the allowance was low, or something along those lines. So basically, she was messing around with this dude for his money. And shout out to Trini Girl to the Bone for the 20. She said, I enjoy your broadcast, Tori, and keep on keeping it real, B1. I appreciate you and thank you for the contribution. So she was 16. Full circle. So the thing about it is, Russell Simmons could be disgusted all he wants, but he couldn't be too mad, because, again, that would make him look like a hypocrite. Because isn't that what you did with her mother? And yeah, and Russell Simmons, he's all the way in Bali right now. So it's only so much he can do. But when I saw this, that's the immediate thing that I thought of. But yep, it says that they have split up, and I'm only assuming because it got out about their relationship, and it probably was a strain, and now they're no longer together. Or are they? For all we know, they could still be messing around with each other, but they're probably going to try to be more discreet about it. So I just wanted to bring that to y'all attention. I don't want to like harp too much on the story, and apparently neither does anyone else, because the story was posted on April 9th and it only got 4 comments. So apparently the people don't care. And when I was looking, I'm glad you brought that up, the Hula Gang, about her shape, because when I was looking at the pictures of them together on the beach and I'm looking at her shape, she doesn't really have a shape. I'm gonna be quite honest with you. And then one thing we do know about a lot of these old PC men is they like their women to have a certain look. And y'all know what that look is. And she has the frame. She doesn't have a shape like her mother. And I think the reason her mother got that shape is mainly because she was popping out them kids. And of course, that's that baby weight. So there's that story. Moving on. So this next story right here, we got to talk about Minister Farrakhan in this lawsuit that he had against the ADL that got tossed out. Anybody surprised by that? Because I'm not. The ADL has had a very iffy history with the minister, as he has had with them for years now, for the last couple of decades, to be quite honest. But he sued the ADL for $4.8 billion. That, whew, when I heard about that, like, whoo, that's a lot of money. And I was saying to myself, even if he won that, he wasn't going to get all of that. Trust and believe. He wasn't going to get even close to all of that. But he sued them for $4.8 billion, and it was tossed out of court. It wasn't even heard. I am not surprised in the least bit by that. A federal judge tossed Nation of Islam leaders Louis Farrakhan $4.8 billion lawsuit against the Anti-Defamation League, accusing the civil rights group of falsely smearing him as an anti-Semite. Farrakhan, who over the years has said Hitler was a quote-unquote great man, repeatedly claimed quote-unquote satanic Jews control the government, and Hollywood compared Jews to termites, sued the ADL and the Simon Wiesenthal Center in Manhattan federal court in October, insisting the groups had harmed him and the Nation of Islam by pushing the false narrative that he's an anti-Semite. In dismissing the suit Friday, Manhattan federal court judge Denise Colt wrote Farrakhan had failed to provide any evidence demonstrably linking the group's actions and writings to injuries sustained by him or his religious organization. Regarding Farrakhan's claim that Morgan State University barred him from speaking at the school in 2023 due to pressure from the ADL, Colt wrote that he did not prove there was an injury fairly traceable to the ADL. Well, my thing is this. Morgan State University is an HBCU, so I don't know how in the hell the ADL wiggled their way into that. Now, if this was a PWI, then I could see that. But Morgan State, which, by the way, is in Baltimore. But anyway, let me continue moving on. Colt also noted in her decision that ADL's writings on Farrakhan and his comments about the Jewish people were not defamatory because they constitute non-actionable opinions and that Farrakhan has not pled actual malice. The Anti-Defamation League cheered the judge's decision on X and linked to a blog post listing a selection of Farrakhan's hateful and conspiratorial statements. Truth is a defense, and no, we will not stop calling out anti-Semitism wherever and whenever we see it, the ADL wrote, aka Jonathan Greenblatt. I'm sure that he was behind that. Cosma said money. Well, y'all got a point. You got a point there. Yeah, but they've had issue with the minister for years. Now, I can guarantee that, going back to what I was talking about with OJ, when he passes away, I can only imagine what all those ADL ran sites are going to say when he passes away. He's another one they probably can't wait to expire. I'm almost certain of it. Williams said everything he has said about those people, white people are sick of them and are highly vocal now. They can no longer claim anti-Semite and cannot and not be challenged. Keep in mind, these are the same people that got mad at Kyrie Irving for posting a link. A link, y'all. We all remember how that turned out. And that was what? Back in 2022, I believe. I think that's when it was, 2 years ago. And guess what? Kyrie ended up getting the last laugh. He ended up getting out of New York. He ended up going to Dallas. The former owner of the Nets got basically removed, who tried to railroad him. So, and Kyrie remained on Cole, which is why black people stayed on his side. See, to the black people out there in Hollywood, if y'all would just stay on Cole like Kyrie did and not try to throw us under the bus when you enter a state of panic, like some others will do, things and miracles can happen for you. They may not happen as quickly when it comes to other groups because they have the resources to make things happen very fast. But when they do happen, they will work out in your favor, and they worked out in his favor. So now we are going to go on now to the last story of the day. I almost forgot it was 7 o'clock because it's still light outside. I like this time of the year, by the way. So, but anyway, the last story of the day, it says, most young offenders are unlike Mark Ford, Las Vegas teen killer who killed again. So let's go ahead and see what this story is about.
Last night, our 8 News Now investigators showed you how a convicted teen murderer released from prison went on to kill 2 more people.
Now, the state released him because he was a child at the time of the crime, and he was up for mandatory parole.
Well, 8 News Now investigator David Charnes tells us why most offenders like Mark Ford.
We've received a lot of response since our story aired and went online, specifically how cases like Mark Ford stack up against the country. As we reported, it's uncommon for young offenders to serve as long as he did, 20 years, and then reoffend. Nevada is among the majority of states banning life without parole for children. Ford, who killed a man in 2003 and then served 20 years, was eligible for mandatory parole after serving that term. A Nevada law passed in 2015 stipulated any young offender who committed a crime involving death, who was under 18 at the time, is automatically eligible for mandatory parole after 20 years. As the 8 News Now investigators reported, Ford would go on to kill 2 more people, shoot a 3rd before dying by suicide. But data from the Campaign for the Fair Sentencing of Youth shows most young offenders age out of crime.
It's shocking because it is so unusual to see someone, a former juvenile lifer who gets out and causes more harm.
The 8 News Now investigators speaking with Preston Shipp, a former prosecutor who advocates for offenders like Mark Ford to get a second chance. The parole board gave Ford that chance after he met state requirements.
I just don't know if there was something that the parole board could have picked up on, but I feel so much for them because they're clearly trying so hard to do the right thing. And are meeting with overwhelming success.
Data shows that success is real. According to the federal government, nationally, the average age of someone arrested for murders and drugs is 19.
A 17-year-old will do things that a 30-year-old will not.
Scientists say that includes our brains not developing fully until we're 25, and that the
I gotta pause it right there. I hate when they say that about the brain development thing, and they try to use it in the context of something like this, and they typically love to do it when it is them. This is that same crap that they loosely tried with Ethan Couch, Affluenza Boy, back in 2013. Oh, he was too rich to know what he was doing was wrong. Bullshit. He knew how to drink underage. He knew how to take his parents' vehicle and go joyriding and then run over and kill 4 people. But we got to look out for his future because, he just didn't know no better because he was too rich to know. If that wasn't one of the biggest Operation Protect the White Boy stories ever done, before I even started making this kind of content on YouTube. See, this is the part what I'm talking about when I say I don't like my intelligence to be insulted. This right here is what I mean. I forgot whose stand-up I was watching where they were saying you kind of innately know when you're doing something wrong. It's almost like something you're born knowing. You know what's right and wrong. It's one of those like foundational cardinal rules. You just know what is right and you know what isn't. You know not to want to take somebody out. And especially at that age. Come on now. Let's be real with ourselves here. See how what I mean when they say they claim they don't know what they're doing, even at a certain age. But with us, we just had to know what we was doing. Look at Tamir Rice, 12 years old, younger than what he was at when he did what he did. Tamir Rice didn't harm nobody, but they sure made sure to find a way to kill him and age him to make it say that he was 18, or they thought he was 18. And they try to tell us that we need to learn how to take accountability.
Older and more affluent you are, according to federal data.
There it is, y'all. What did I just say? Affluenza, boy. What did they just say? The older and more affluent you are, the less likely you will commit crime. I call and smell bullshit. One can argue they can commit more or just as more as those who are not. So what are you trying to say? That the people who are younger and not as affluent are committing way more? I need to see some stats. Because it sounds to me like some of them are committing crimes out there, but they're not counting it as a crime. Italio Rauchi, and I'm hoping I pronounced your last name correctly. Forgive me if I'm not. Yes, it was Eddie Griffin that said it. Now that I think about it, it was him that said it and had one stand-up he did. He was like wearing all black.
The less likely you'll commit crime.
Research also shows younger minds are more apt to change when they're in prison, especially for someone like Mark Ford, who was there for 2 decades. Why he killed 2 more people after his release, we may never know the truth.
It's because he's a natural born killer. I'll tell it right there. That's what he is. That man is possessed by the spirit of Michael Myers. So you killed 2 people to land you in jail for 20 years, and you get out, and the first thing you do is you go kill 2 more people? I wonder what excuse they're gonna give him now. They can't give him the one about the age because they already used that one. Or maybe they're gonna try to say, well, he was locked up for 2 decades. He doesn't know right from wrong because he didn't get the experience outside life as a teen. I'm just waiting on it. I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like I said, he's just a natural born killer. Just leave it at that. I'll say that they won't. That's another one, Ironwood, that they love to abuse, the mental illness card. Can't forget about that one, man. That's in chapter 1 of their pamphlet. This man literally just has the thrill for the kill. Let's just keep it real. That's what it is. But anyway, y'all, that was the last story of the day. Shout out to everybody that came through, and shout out to those who contributed to the stream. Shout out to Janesta for the contribution. Shout out to Dana for that major contribution. I greatly appreciate that. Shout out to Trini Girl to the Bone for the 20. And also I had some Cash App contributions. Shout out to DC Precise and also Sam Ham for the contribution as well. I greatly appreciate it. We will be back on here tomorrow at 11 a.m. We got the bed bucking video on Clarence Thomas. Believe it or not, I think this is the first entry for him I've ever done. I know, crazy. But also we have the midday stream tomorrow where we will be talking about the stunt that Donald Trump just recently pulled at that Chick-fil-A. Yes, we are going there and we are going to intertwine it with how what he did with that is no different than what the Democrats do when it comes to us as far as the pandering thing goes. I think Kid Gravity is also doing a live stream about the same thing, but his is going to be before mine. So also be sure to check out what he has to say as well. We probably going to be like almost saying the same exact thing, but you know, it's no problem to see what someone else's perspective is on it, even though I kind of figure I know what he's going to say as well. So that is what's coming up tomorrow. So with that being said, Y'all enjoy the rest of your evening. We will be back on here tomorrow. Be safe. Be one. Shout out to the replay gang and everybody else. And have a good evening.